All right, so continuing from yesterday, I want to talk about what to program on faders and what to program on buttons. And we're going to start today with talking about faders. Now, this whole thing, if you're brand new here, you just clicked on this, is part of our 5 minutes to better lighting. It's our July series, one video every day, about 5 minutes long, to get you to improve your lighting. So be sure to subscribe and click the bell to get the latest videos here, and then you'll be in the loop. Awesome. Now, if you don't know me, I'm David from Learn Stage Lighting, and we're going to talk about faders here. So on the bottom of Onyx here, with my file here, I've got all of my faders. These are faders. If I double click them, I can vary my intensity. So what do I store on them? Well, let's go ahead and show you. The first thing that I like to do is when I'm thinking about the whole fader versus button debate, and I think about it a lot when I'm programming, I'm always thinking about, hey, should this particular thing be on a fader or on a button? The benefit of putting things on faders is the ability to have control, linear control over your lights. The ability with whatever's on that fader to be able to have more or less of whatever it's controlling. So for example here, you can see this fader right here controls my front wash. There's a gobo in them right now, but if I open them up, you can see it a whole lot better, okay? And I'm always going to do faders that control my various lights so that I'm able to work with them, okay? Like I just turned it off on accident there. Awesome. Then I've got my backlights again, my backlight spots. I've got my backlight washes, which are Mac Auras in this case. Lovely light. My floor lights. And then, of course, my LEDs as well. Right there. Awesome. And so that's the first, and that's kind of the most obvious thing. If you only have so many faders, and you've only got a few faders, maybe you got 5 faders, you want to put your lights on it, then I would start with those things, okay? But the rest of my faders, instead of controlling my lights, what I like to do is, instead of just intensity levels, is I like to put effects on faders. And the reason why is pretty simple. I can show you with a simple ballyhoo or a simple movement effect. If I were to put this on a button, I would be able to play this and stop it, okay? I'd be able to bring it up to its fullest level, which is this right now for this particular cue, and that's all I'd be able to do. But if I put this effect on a fader, all of a sudden, I can dial back the speed and the size of it. I can make it a very slow, very dramatic, and I admit I'd probably record the maximum of this a little too slow. Or I can make it faster and more dramatic. I'll switch to another one. I think this one's faster. Again, this one takes the lights out into the audience and does a chase. And it can be very slow and dramatic. You don't often think about, just for an aside, doing a slow song with a movement effect like this, but it can work really well if you keep it slow and dramatic, especially if it's a very powerful song. I think about when I've lit Southern gospel concerts, that's what you do for the finale a lot of the time. But it can also be quite fast, as you can see here. And so the cool thing about storing things on faders is that you're able to have really up to, 100 different looks out of the same fader. And by combining multiple faders, you're able to do some cool things. This is my open and strobe, and it's quite variable. So if I just bring it up a little, the color stays. If I bring it up all the way, everything turns to white that was stored on it. Here's another chase again. This is just an intensity chase across my lights, but if I bring it down, I'm able to have it happen much slower. Bring it up, I'm able to have it faster. So the things that you want to record on faders, just a quick recap, are intensity levels first. That's the stuff I generally, for most shows, whatever that means, for most shows, I want to get intensity control over all my major groups of lights. But then, when you've got faders left over, maybe it's a few, maybe it's a lot, I like to fill them with effects, with things that I like to have variable control over, with the ultimate goal that, like I talked about in the last video, I can go ahead and I could use a movement like this and then add an intensity effect to it. And I could combine these together, and with just 2 faders, full off, those 4 combinations, I could have 4 different and distinct looks. But with variable amounts of each cue, I'm able to have so many more than 4, tens or hundreds potentially of looks that you can actually tell the difference between. So that's what I like to put on faders. And if you have been enjoying this, if you want to know more about what lights I recommend, check out my gear guide. It's available to you. You can check it out for free. See what lights I recommend from when I've tested and looked at lights, and just the lights that I find that are out there right now that are the best value. Go ahead, get that guide, bookmark it so you're always up to date as I keep it up to date. And then I will see you in our next video. We're going to talk about what to put on these buttons. See ya.